Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here to answer the top 5 most asked questions specifically for those people who are new to our channel and only been following us for a few days, few weeks, few months. So I want to say that right up front, because if you've been watching us for quite a while, you probably already know the answers to all these, but I felt it important to go ahead and answer these questions again so I can get this out there fresh and new. So the top number 1 most asked question is, have you written a book, or along with that, will you write a book? And the answer to that is no, I have not written a book, and no, probably I won't write a book. I understand and I appreciate the desire for something in hard copy because I believe it's very important. But the reason I started YouTube in the first place, so for example, especially when people are asking about recipes, is because a lot of times I make stuff up on the fly. And I might do a similar recipe again and again, but it might not be the same every time. And I don't always use measurements. I just look at stuff and throw it together according to the basic amounts that I see in there or the taste. I just have an idea of amounts. I rarely go by exact measurements. It doesn't matter if it's a meal or some kind of medicinal extract that I'm making. And that's why I started doing YouTube, was because I was sharing a lot of stuff over on Facebook, but then people wanted written recipes. I'm like, well, I don't have them. So I thought, well, if I do something visual, at least people could see how I do that. And I actually even did a video on how to start getting familiar with measurements so you don't have to always use a measuring cup or measuring spoons. And I'll link to that video down below. I think I also talk about ratios and so on. And another thing is that I'm always changing how I do things. Things are always evolving and morphing as I find better ways, or ways that I find better for me. Some people might like the old way, some people might like the new way, or sometimes I learn new things that make me realize, well, this would be better health-wise, or so on and so forth. And so thus my recipes change all the time. And that's why I don't want to put something in a hard copy form, because it's probably in a year, 2 years time, it could be very different than how I originally started it. And then the other one, the top thing, why I probably will never write a book and why I haven't done it yet, is just simply my time. In fact, things have changed a lot just since 2019 in my schedule, and it's not just because of certain things going on out in the world, but just what's been happening in our own personal life. And one of the big things is our grandson that was born back in October of 2020. I started watching him 3 days a week, and I'm still doing that. And now we have another grandson on the way that's due this spring. So when Jackson came along, I already had to start making cuts. In fact, the summer before that, I had stopped making soaps for the store because I just didn't have time to keep up on them. I was still doing other things, but the soaps were the first thing to go. And then eventually I stopped making the lip balms. And then I've had to make some more cuts that I'm going to get to in a minute that's going to answer another of the most asked questions. So the main thing is just my time. And I have to make choices. And I got to choose what's most important to me as well as what's working best for me. And at this point, I don't have a desire to write a book, but I enjoy doing YouTube. I like the more, even though it's still not directly face-to-face, there's still more back and forth interaction with people. And I feel like I'm really communicating more directly with people when I do this, and it seems more personable to me, and I just enjoy it. And it's working good for us all the way around. And in order for me to write a book, if I did really want to do that, YouTube would be the first thing to have to go. I'd have to just quit making videos in order for me to focus on the book. Either that, or I'd have to quit making products for the store altogether. And I'm not willing to give up all those things in order to write a book. However, to help make up the difference, one of the things I have started doing within the past year or so is I do have a few recipes that I've created and then written down over time because I wanted to keep my ratios as I came up with the recipe. Certain things do need a certain ratio, like the chocolates and the chocolate syrup, and various other things. So I have been trying to be more conscientious of writing things down and then typing these recipes up so that you can get them in a free form that you can copy and paste into your own document. That way you can also make any changes to the recipe that you want instead of having to scratch something out and write something else in. So that's the other thing, is that my recipes are all made to be tailored to suit you. So that way you can make all the changes you want. And where I put those recipes is over on Patreon. I know some of you are going to go, Patreon, that's not free. Well, yes it is. Ours is anyway. No need to donate even a cent in order to be able to access any of the written recipes or lists or other things that I put in there for you to copy and paste into whatever document you have. The only thing I ask is please don't turn around and sell my recipes, since I'm giving them to you for free. But I like putting them on Patreon for a few reasons, because we've had longtime followers that had asked us to set up a Patreon just to have a safe place for them to donate. But it was too hard for me to keep up on doing stuff there. So I thought, well, what about if I just put whatever, so that nobody is ever left out, people who can't afford to donate. I go ahead and put things where I can have photos to go with the recipes and have all that in one place, and then people can make their choice. If they can't afford to donate, they don't have to, and it's still there for them. So it just gives a few different options there. And I like the fact that with Patreon now, I can put several photos into one thing instead of just having one photo. It's pretty cool. It's been like that for a little while now, but it wasn't initially. And then I always put the link to the video recipe as well, so you can have both. Okay, so that leads into the next most common question, and that is, and this especially came up because of the most recent video I did about skirts, why I wear them, how I wear them, so on and so forth. And so I had a lot of people that are new people that didn't realize that for several years, up through good part of 2021, I was making skirts and selling them on a regular basis. And I even had times before the grandbaby came along and actually before 2020 came along, that I was able to make, in some weeks, that I managed to be able to get enough time to do even 5 or 6 skirts a week, but they would sell just like that. I mean, I'd list them and they could be gone in 10 minutes. Some might rarely stay up for a few days, but most of them were gone within 10 minutes to an hour. And so even then, people were asking, do you sell your skirts? Well, yes, but I can't keep them up on the store. There's only me doing it. But then 2021 with the grandbaby and then our youngest son getting married and me just wanting to focus on that, I set the skirt making aside for a while with full intentions after the wedding of getting back into the skirt making. But the problem is life has been so crazy, and Jackson's a toddler now and he's all over the place and it requires even more time. And then there's other things that seem to keep getting piled on my plate, and that this time of the year, at least the time I'm shooting this, I'm still in the middle of working on my taxes. I'm hoping by the time you see this, I have them filed. That's what I'm focusing on right now. And then of course, still trying to keep up on the skin creams that have been selling like crazy and certain other things for the store. And that goes with Patrick too. He has several items that he's offered on the store, like the cutting boards and the pasta drying racks, which some of it is a supply issue, like for the right kind of wood for making the cutting boards, and then some of it is just simply the time, because he's got a lot of time that goes in making the colloidal generators and making the 2 different size chambers now for the store, and then some other projects that he has going on that are outside of YouTube but are important big things, including building me my new upper cabinets finally after all of these years for my kitchen. I cannot wait to get those up so you guys can see how beautiful they are. But I have shown pictures of the lower ones that he did years ago. It's just taken him years to get around to the top one, so I can finally get rid of those dark, ugly, stained upper cabinets that have been in here since 1965. So yeah, same thing applies to some of the stuff that he was offering. Some things will be like when he makes the Vitamix tampers, those are custom order only, because there's actually several different shapes and sizes of Vitamix tampers, and he doesn't want to make a bunch of each because everybody's going to have something different that they want. So he will do those on a custom order basis. And then the sock darners and the regular vegetable tampers, he tries to always keep one up on the store. If you don't see them, just keep coming back and checking, or even ask, we can set up a custom order for you. We've done that for a couple people. So that brings me to my next most asked question or even comment that's made, and that's in regards to international orders. And even though I have this on my storefront, it's listed right in there in important announcements. Yes, we do ship all over the world. In fact, I just shipped an order off to Israel the other day. We have shipped many orders to the UK and Canada. Those are the two most common places we ship to. But we've also shipped to South Korea, New Zealand, and Australia, and several other countries. So just because you go in there to order it and you can't, and it says you can't, or that it's not available, just private message me, and then what I'll do is look up the price quote on the item or items that you're ordering, so I can give you a better price quote probably than what Etsy's going to give you, especially if we're combining different items, then I can save you a little money in shipping. And that way you can decide if it's worth it to pay the shipping for that. And then if it's not, I understand, totally understand, especially something like the large chamber, that costs a lot of money to ship overseas, a lot. So I can understand that. And so I don't mind giving you a price quote. And if you decide, nah, I can't afford it, I get it. But if you decide it's worth it, then I set up the custom order from that private message. And then once that's done, all you got to do is go in there and pay for it. So it's actually pretty simple. Just private message me. That's all you have to do. Don't come back into YouTube and make a comment. Message me on the store, because I can't set up a custom order for you on YouTube, but I can do it on my store. So top question number 4, and this is a basic question. So it's people coming in saying, what are the best herbs for such and such? And fill in the blank with whatever ailment. Now understand that I do have videos focusing on different ailments where I'll compile different herbs and supplements and foods that are to help with that ailment. And then I also have specific recipes for things like, or I have a recipe for pain and what works for me. And these are different types of videos, and they're focusing on different things. And then I also have videos that do herb profiles where I'll talk about the many benefits of a certain herb. So these are things I've been learning for years. I am not a doctor. I'm not a licensed naturopath. I'm not a licensed herbalist. I don't even like to call myself an herbalist, though technically I know I can do that, simply because I don't like labels that might give people an idea that I'm the end all know all in these things, which actually nobody is, because there are so many herbs out there and so many medicinal benefits to most of these herbs that there's not one person that can have all of that stored up here. We're all in the process of studying and learning. And so what I try to do that help, and this is something that works for me and for you too, is that I'll pick a topic, like an ailment or an herb, and then I'll study up on that, and then I'll take the notes and I'll put it together in a video. And whenever I can, especially now, this is something I've been doing more, I'll find science-based studies on that very thing, and I'll make sure to link to that too. So it's not just so-and-so saying it and so-and-so over here saying it, because we all make mistakes and get things wrong. And I've done it too. I've made mistakes where I said something about an herb or this or that, and come to find out I had my facts mixed up. And so we all make the mistake. So you can't just trust what I say. I want you to actually have the data to go with it and read through it yourself. And maybe I still said something wrong even with that data there, but that way you can also learn for yourself. So understand that I don't have the answers to every ailment. I'm still learning, even though I've been working on this for many years and learning about herbs for, well, at least a good 10 years or so. There's so much out there that it's taken me time and a lot of research and compiling information together, and then I'm always learning something new about something I've already put a video out anyway. So just be patient as I work on compiling more information for various ailments, but in the meantime, I also have a video out about how you can do the research for yourself. So if I don't already have a video that covers that, then you can go to the one on how to do the research yourself, which you should do anyway, because I expect everyone to take any information I give them and use that more as a springboard, so that you kind of know where to look and what to look up. So let's say you're looking up something specifically to help with diabetes, and you go to my list on diabetes and you find that whole list in there. Then you can go, okay, well, this herb sounds interesting, or this is something I can grow, or this is something I can get easily enough. Now let me do deeper research to find out whether or not that's going to work for me and if it's going to be the right thing for me. And then do more studying on your own so you can find what's going to suit you. And it also is going to take some trial and error. It's because we're all going to be different at what works for each one of us. I bring up the pain thing a lot because it's the one thing that I'm more typically going to need some kind of medicinal herb for, is pain of some kind, whether it be muscle pain or headaches. Those are the two most common ones. What works best for me doesn't necessarily work as great for Patrick, and it might not work as great for you, but you might find another herb or supplement or something that does. When I put that information out there, it is all supposed to be to give you a starting point so you can do your own research and then figure out what's going to suit you best according to your allergies, medications you were on, or just what is easiest for you to come by. And so no, I don't have all the answers, and I'll be very honest with you when I don't. Top question number 5, don't get asked this one as much as you would think I would, but I do get asked it frequently, and people say, where are you located? Well, obviously I'm here in the United States, and we are in Washington State, and a lot of people think Washington State is wet, but they don't understand that Washington State has two sides. One side that's wet, one side that's very dry. I grew up on the dry side of the state. I now live on the wet side of the state, but not just that alone, because Seattle's on the wet side of the state. But where we live on the peninsula is 3 times more wet than Seattle is and any of those other surrounding areas. Even places that are only an hour away from us don't get near the amount of rainfall we do. Right now, our current average annual rainfall is 120 inches, where Seattle is 40 to 50 inches per year. And we've even had up to 160 inches in a year. That is a lot of rain. And if you want to compare that to where you live, especially if you think you live in a really wet place that gets a lot of rain, look up your annual rainfall. All you got to do is put average annual rainfall for, and then put your city, state, city, province, whatever, wherever it is you live, and they'll give you a pretty good idea. We actually live very close to a rainforest. I grew up in a dry 10 inches of rain, annual rainfall, dry side of Washington State, then lived in the Seattle area for 2 years, which gets moderate amount of rain, and then now I live here that gets the most amount of rain. Now there are a few places around the world that do get more rain than we do, but not many. So anyway, that's the top 5 most asked questions, and if you've been around for a long time and you went ahead and decided to watch this video anyway, and you knew all these answers, well, thank you. Thank you for sticking around. And for those of you who are new, I hope that helped. And if you got any more questions, go ahead and put them down below. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.